What's up, everybody? It's my first time actually ever doing a solo version of this, so excited to be here. Going to answer probably as many questions as possible, spend at least an hour going through it. Got a lot of stuff to talk about this week with the no-cut event, with strategy, just everything you guys want to know. So it'll be a one-on-one session. Gonna start it off on a somber note, but for those of you that will watch this later and weren't just in the Slack and didn't see, just want to send some love and prayers to our boy Bucks. Tough spot for him today. Lost his little sister. I can't imagine that. I have a little sister of my own. Just a terrible thing to happen. Bucks is like a brother to me. This whole family community, we rally behind that stuff. So send your love and prayers to Bucks. Bucks, brother, we love you. Let's talk some golf. Let's get into it, guys, and we'll make the best of it with what we can, right? That's one of our own. It always hurts, but yeah, let's see. Let's open it up to some questions. I got some strategy stuff to talk about that some of you'd asked me about earlier. Maybe I'll kick it off with that. I got the Ravens gear. Yes, that's right. My boy, Lamar Jackson. I'm excited for the season to kick off. Just under 50 days now, so it's going to be pretty cool. Someone asked earlier about the fade everyone 20% strategy. So as always is such in DFS, the week starts off with, us thinking one thing and then it turning out to be another, but always trust Gup and his ownership projections. So just going to those now, guys, like to give you an idea, it looks like not as many people are going to be as heavily owned, I should say. So not as many people are going to be 25 to 30%. And it's not always like that. Sometimes in these no cuts, you get a guy that's 7,500 that just blasts off to like 40%. Because people feel like he's a must play, and that doesn't seem to be the case this week. Gup is pretty much spot on at all times. I can definitely see one or two of these guys that could pop up, but just to give you a heads up, so he's got JT. Way underweight on JT to the field. I think I've got him at 10%. Gup's mix up the names. Gup has him at 21%. Rory, I'm pretty much at 20%. I think the top will be spaced out a little bit more between Rory, DJ, and Brooks. So I do think that you can play any of them up there. I'm mostly going to be underweight on DJ and Brooks just because, and we'll talk about Brooks after. I do got some more to talk about on that, but I'm still sticking with the balanced structure. I think a lot of people, it looks like, and even if you go down and see the chalk, at the bottom there, you got Keegan, Homa, Connors, Mitchell, Lashley all showing up in double digits, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that it looks like a lot of people are putting that in their lineup, and not as many people are going to go for the balanced structure. I get why the Stars and Scrubs, because it's a no-cut event, but again, like we talked about earlier, it's not necessarily a birdie fest where these guys can't get you into trouble. All these guys at the bottom are capable of going +5 on day one, getting into the water trouble, and disappearing and having to fight their way back all weekend. Versus a balanced roster construction, your worst guy might be at even or -1, but then the rest of them are all at 5 under or something. It definitely could happen. So I'm sticking to that. Going back to the chalk, I love that the 9K range is sort of 17 and under with what Gup has here. That to me is basically exactly what I want to see. It's kind of like last week where the 8K range is going to be chalk heavy. Trying to exploit that 9K range a little bit and then stay within the 7s, because if you look from Andrew Putnam down, and I'm using the same thing that Gup sends out with the color charts. If you look from there down, it's pretty much only 5 guys that are above 10, and even Wolf is just at 10. So for me, that's a big factor, right? I'm still going to mix in a bunch of those 7K guys, and most people are going to have three or more 8K guys in their lineup. That allowed me in a lot of spots to actually not have to leave as much money on the table as what I thought, because I think my lineups are still going to be quite different. And then lastly, he's got Matsuyama and Webb. Both of those guys are two that, again, I didn't expect them. I actually expected Bryson to get a little chalkier, and maybe he still will at the last minute if people pivot back and forth, but couldn't leave Matsuyama alone completely. I do like Matsuyama this week. Again, if he's under 11K, then I'll play him. When he's under 9K, I'll definitely play him. Approach game's been there. Putter, he's actually been gaining strokes with, so I'm okay with him. Let's jump into these questions, though, guys. What do we got here? So, any love for Sergio this week? I've got him. What I can do is sort of, while we're on here, because it's just us this week, I can pull up my exposures and give you guys some ideas of that as we go throughout. So I got a small number on Sergio here. It looks like Gup has him around 8%. Okay, I would think that would be high. I actually have 8%. And just so you guys know, I'm taking everybody to school this week. I built exactly 101 lineups. So DFS 101 here. Take them to school, get the 100K. Let's fucking go. DJ, got some DJ. Talk about Brooks for a second. So Brooks seems extremely motivated. Kenny and I talked about him on the pod this week about the FedEx Cup points. I don't know about the whole Aon money. I mean, I'm sure he wants that, but if he can wrap everything up and put himself in a good spot going into the finale this year when he gets that 2-stroke lead, to me, that would be huge. And at that number, you know, it is for those stars and scrubs builds, but I'm still going to be underweight on him. Gup has him at around 14%. I think I've got like 8 to 10%. I'm just fitting him in there just to see. Let's see what else we got here. So Rom, let me check Rom. I've got a little bit of Rom. I do like him, and it's because I really only have one Fleetwood lineup. So it seems crazy with 150. You know, I'm using 101. I told you as the number. If 100 plus or even 50 plus, if Fleetwood burns me, you could say, oh, you could have had some of them, but I'm going with, I can't have everybody. And he's a guy that I'd rather play Rom. And even then, Rom, you know, Gup has him at 13. I've got him at 10. Like, I really am going with a more balanced structure. I think people are seriously underestimating the fact that you still need people to play well here. This is not some easy course that guys are going to go out and tear up and shoot 20 under at. Just because you can fit stars and scrubs doesn't mean these scrubs can't bust. And we've seen stars, quote unquote stars, bust plenty of times as well. So, you know, that's important to me as well. So someone asked, how do you factor in course history this week? For me, the course history is not as important. I kind of like it if they have a little bit. So that factored into me getting a little bit of Brooks when you guys know normally I don't play any at all, especially at these high prices. The difference was, A, it's a non-cut event, totally different than a major where he has to make a cut and go on to win. He can still score for me. Secondly, like I said, he's only in those builds that are stars and scrubs. And then thirdly, he was 5 for 5 here with a second and a third. Gup, I know, used Firestone, but like he said, some people want to factor that in. Strong fields and guys that play in strong fields, use a Paul Casey as example, that's a thing. So, you know, if you want to look at that, it's still important. What else? Sned's sub 10%. Let's see. I do got some Snedeker. Just sort of that upside play at 7,400. Yeah, I'll be even on him too. It looks like Gup has him around 8%. I've got 8%. So I'm not overweight on him. I'm much more overweight on the 9K guys. So Cantlay, Xander, Rose, Kuchar for sure, Stenson as well, Matsuyama. I'm underweight on Bryson. I'm about the field on Scott. Reed, I think I'm 18%. Gup has him at 14. So I do like Day. He's got Day low. I do like Finau, and I do not like Woodland. So let's talk about Woodland for a second. Highest exposure right now is Patrick Cantlay. Matsuyama's not far behind, but I do like Cantlay. And Cantlay's sort of that play where I'm shorting the top, right? Where, you know, starting at 9,800, you can start lineups with them. But I definitely have some DJ Cantlays and lineups like that, and Rory as well. Rory's also my highest owned guy at the top. Two guys to talk about. Rory is one. I'll start there. I do like Rory this week. I think the bounce back is there. Someone, the best joke I saw all day was in Slack. I forget who said it, but it said no wonder he turned it on Friday because nobody likes to help move, and he ended up moving on Saturday and Sunday with his wife there. So I don't know. I think Rory's going to bounce back. I think we've seen it in the past. The stats are out there. I think it's, again, an event where he's been so good tee to green. The driver's accurate long. It was one bad round with a lot of nerves and pressure on something that had been building up. I think he had a little extra time to rest, and I think he's going to be fine coming in here. Not crazy on him, but he's just my highest owned of the top guys. The other one was, what did you guys just talk to me about here? I have to go back up and see. Who did we have here? Snedeker, no. Bubba. So not much Bubba if you want to play that angle. I guess for his price, he's cheap and no cut event. But it's like guys like him and Mickelson. I've got like 5% of each split up just because, again, I've got 101 lineup, so I can do that. And they're just mixed in as like a bottom flyer in the lineup where there are other 5 guys just to make it a little bit different. And what if they go off and score, right? You never know with these guys, especially with Mickelson, where he could definitely show up. And, he's got the history here. I think his worst is 12th in his last 5 times out. He has been playing absolutely horrendous, but if it comes back to a spot where he knows and likes and he wants to get stuff together, this could be a spot where he turns it on at that cheap price tag. Billy Ho and Wolf, good question. That was one at the start of the week I was looking at quite a bit. It looks like Horschel got a lot more love out there, sort of from the course history angle. And it's not quite where I thought it would get to, so I still do have Horschel, but I ended up with slightly more Wolf. So I am going to be on Wolf. I think Wolf, the biggest thing is I know the field's different and it's tougher, but he's been accurate. He's been solid off the tee. He can score if it comes down to it. He hasn't made a lot of blow-up holes or big mistakes. I think he wants to compete. I think it's, the money's on the line. I know he just won, but this is a lot of money for him. It's a big boy tournament with $1.845 million up top. I think he'd love to win that as much as any of us would. So I expect him to come out and see. No clue on the Scott Putter thing. When I wasn't sure if Gup was going to get on here with me, I tried to get Georgia, but same as she ghosted us on the putter. She didn't respond to me to come on the podcast here with me, or on the live show. But my thoughts are with Kevin Na. Someone asked about him. If he's there to play, maybe, but with coming off the neck injury and everything on the line, the only thing that scares me is completely narrative-based. And you all know the song Walking in Memphis? And who likes to walk in putts and could walk in some putts in Memphis? And that's Kevin Na. So I think I've got what do I got here, Kevin Na? Two lineups with Kevin Na, and I basically just put them with my exact core plays to see what would happen. So I don't know if that's going to turn into anything, but I'll give them a try and see what happens. Everyone, yes, if you haven't clicked the like button yet, there's 102 people watching. Let's click the like button. Get those up. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. We're trying to move that up as much as possible. Looks like Gup is joining us in the chat, guys. So, keep your questions asked there. He'll double down on the answers, I'm sure. Good to get some second insight and opinions there. But Gup did post all of his stuff early. So for those of you that haven't checked it out yet, final thoughts, ownership, rankings, everything is all out. I believe he has Matsu taking it on this week, and we know he's been very accurate with that in the past, and hence now I had these shares before he posted that. That's certainly reassuring for me. But like I said, Matsu's sort of the only chalk guy that I was scared, I guess you'll say, to shy away from. At 8,900, I just can't fathom, a poor week. So even if he has a rough first day or something, I still just feel like he's the type we know can just get hot, shoot up a couple rounds at 66 or something and get right back into the mix and end up finishing T10 with a bunch of scoring. And that's if he doesn't get hot out of the gate and go off. So I do like that play. What else do we got here? Hao Tong. Yeah, Hao Tong. What's he got him at here? I think he's got him extremely low owned. Well, I guess maybe low owned, supposedly 9.69%. I actually liked Hao Tong just as a flyer play, but I didn't get there. So, I ended up getting to only 7% Hao Tong. I thought I'd actually have more. No, I like the Matsu pick there by Gup. I think, like I said, I'm just laughing because, like I said, I want to fade everybody over 20%. Or I guess I was saying fade. What I more so mean is go extremely underweight, so they don't kill me completely. But if they hit, I'll have a few shares of them with my main plays. But they're not core plays for me, and most people end up with that as their core. Under 7K. Let's see. I think it's actually ending up being Homa for me. I talked about him a lot. I know Fam got him in the box, but Homa, yeah, I got Homa at about 14%. Biggest thing on him was, and I know, yeah, Gup likes Adam Long. I ended up getting some shares of him, but I do like Homa more still. I think the Homa back on Bermuda. I do like the fact that it was 8 for 8 strokes gained tee to green, which is important here. I like the fact that he was 7 for 8 on approach. And the only thing that's really been hindering him recently, since that win at Quail Hollow, which is a Bermuda course, has been that putter. So for me, I'm fine with Homa and going back to him. And then, yeah, he's going to go up. Like Gup just said in the chat, Homa got a massive Mayo bump on the PGA show there. He's already at almost 15% in Gup's takes. So again, I think it's all comes back to what you guys are doing with your builds. We talk strategy a lot on here. Everyone asks, 1v1 questions and 2v2 questions, and it really comes down to what you're playing. We talk about this all the time. Gup, big proponent of this. What's your buy-in? What's the structure? What's the amount of entries? Everything like that. For me, I'm playing the $44. The $10, I could have got way off the wall and did it that way, but I still didn't want to go up against 100,000 entries again. And even in the secondary, it was still like 38,000 or something with such a terrible payout structure with 100K up top and like 25 per second or something. I don't know if it was that bad. It might have been 40, but it's like 1, 2, 3 or you're dead in the $44. And I know it's not what everyone's bankroll is to be able to hop into. I'm just saying you got to build your bankroll and move it up to that. Is that I'm playing against 10,000 people. So my ability is that I can, put 3 heavier owned guys, I guess. And then from there, mix it up with some of these low owned guys that we just talked about. And for Homa, for me, I'm going to have different guys around him. So I'm not too concerned. And I don't know how many people that are watching the Mayo show or his first ever PGA show, which is incredible for him and for our industry. That's another thing to talk about for a different day, but huge. And for me, I don't know if you can maneuver it enough around him, but it's not as big for me. So I also ended up betting Matsu. I talked about that on either the show with Bucks this week that I did with the Smash Factor or with Kenny. I did end up betting him. I got him at 34-1. So pretty pumped about that. The other guy I forgot earlier that Gup just brought up was Woodland. Again, total narrative for sure that if he has the babies or not. The biggest thing for me is one, someone mentioned it in chat yesterday, and it's true. I know this from some of my own stuff and with my family, but twins often do arrive earlier. So, that's a factor. The fact that he seems so calm that he's an hour away, to me, isn't an excitement piece to be like, oh, he feels safe that he's home and close to it. It's more of he's like, I know I'm good, and I'll leave on a dime if it happens. So more factors than that brought into the play. If he's 8 to 10% owned, that's already possible edge you could have if you can outdo that. 2, he has to play well. He may not even play well. He may go in the water a few times and just say, forget it from that standpoint. So there's odds there that you have to compete against. And then odds that she has the baby. And obviously with the complications they had last time, which, was a sad loss for him as well, losing one of the twins the first time around, he's going to be gone in a second. He's not going to stick around. He's not going to risk anything. He's going to be with his family like he should be. And I don't have any hate against that. Hunter Mahan, many years ago now, had to leave a tournament as the leader for his firstborn. And I would do the same. It's crazy. It's big money on the line. It is what it is, but we talk about it here all the time, family first. I would totally understand that. Not in on Poulter. He's my boy, but haven't seen enough from him lately. There's too many guys in that price range. You could take a flyer on him in a few lineups, but he's one of the guys I ended up having in like 1 or 2 lineups. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to get some more shares of somebody else and pick my spot. Like old man Furyk, I know Gup said he does as well. I know a lot of guys that are sharper in the industry this week are talking about him. Even if he gets a little bit popular, I think he's the guy we want. We talked about, you still need some guys that don't make mistakes. That's sort of the Furyks, the Snedekers, the Reeves, those types. They may not go on to win the tournament, but at these price points, I'm okay with fitting them into the lineup and then building it around that. Lucas Biergaard, WGC stud all of a sudden. Hey, Josh. He's the stud now. I think he's played in like 2, but we'll call him that. And yeah, 6,900, good price. Couldn't get him into any of mine, I don't think. I'll check and see because I built some of these randomly. Yeah, I don't have him in any lineups as of right now. I might build a lineup just for JB, but since he's a stud now, I might need to get that guy into my lineups just in case. What else do we got here? Cantlay Love, yes, I said I believe as of right now he's my highest owned. So I like him. Lucas B talked about him. Yeah, I couldn't get there. I'm not sure if Gup is going to. So, hey, Gup just confirmed in the chat. He says that Scott plans on long putter all week. I sort of had that inclination. I mentioned earlier in Slack. We talked about it on the pod this week. I think it's something to do with the wind that he likes breaking out the, I got ripped for calling it a shorter putter. It's relative to the person. Adam Scott uses a long putter and a putter, but we'll call it the short putter because we want to make sure he's using the long one. So maybe you build the Scott and Adam Long lineups because it's Adam and Adam Long putter. So there you go. That could be your 2 core to start it off with. What else? Tway in a bubble, Gop says, yeah, no Tway for me. And I'm a Tway guy. It seems like trouble here. Water everywhere. Sometimes his off the tee game can be bad. He bombs it out a bit, but not always the most accurate. I did move some Reed shares over to Hatton once I saw that Reed was going to be a little bit more popular than I suspected. It looks like Gup's got him at around 14. I see, 15 to 18 range. So I did move some to Hatton there. He's got Hatton way down there at like 7. I think I've got 10% Hatton, and I feel pretty good about it. What else? Yeah, Gup just talked about it. Yep, the super windy. He thought it was going to be windy. Yeah, had no wind at all. Idiot. I don't know. Just use the putter that works for you. The quote unquote longer putter has been doing just fine for Adam Scott. I'm not sure why he goes all over the place with it, but that's these guys, right? It's no different than us playing DFS. They're looking for edges, right? They're trying to see what they can do within the field to make a change. He just got crushed at Memorial by Cantlay going off. I'm not sure why he thought he really had to change much up. He was in a good spot there. I definitely have some, lineups that burned me last week where I got guys like Leishman, Cabrera Bello, Bryson, Hideki in them, all mixed around and about. So what else? Could Noren be a decent play? Good question. That was brought up in the chat earlier today, and I said, please sell me on him. I believe it was Jeff at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. Decent follow, showed me some stuff. Today he sold me on it essentially that Noren's actually been pretty good on Bermuda. So it's all narrative based and angle and a few stats, but you could throw him in there in a few lineups. I don't hate that. Coming around a little bit lately, cheap, low owned, kind of like Kisner there as another guy that sort of fits that mold. So that'd be fine by me. Got some huge news in the next 24 hours pertaining to a future golf tourney. That could be some incredible news that you should look out for. I think I know what it is, but I don't know. I don't want to say it for sure. So you guys will love to hear this, though. So you definitely want to stick around for that and see what he posts out there. How much money is Shugo Imahira going to win you this week? I don't know if he's going to win you any money. He's probably going to win himself $52,000 for playing in the tournament, but that's pretty much all I can imagine. Again, is a guy that people will say crushes it on the Japan Tour, can make birdies, also can shoot 10 over, never made a cut at a major yet, has been in 7 of them. So he's the furthest thing from a guy in a strong field, I would suggest, but I've seen crazier. So 6,200 or whatever they want for Imahira this week. Why not? $0, Gup said. He's close. Yeah, 52,000 for him, 0 for that guy. Yes, Gup nailed it. $0 for you. Someone asked that earlier too about somebody else. I had to laugh. They said, how much is this guy going to get me? I said, if you want the opposite of green screens. I think it was Spieth. Can't do that. How does the groups work this weekend? Pretty much standard. The one thing I will say, no real benefit to stacking any waves or anything because they go out within like 2 hours of each other. How do the groups work? I think the JB Holmes group gets slowed down immensely. That's what I would say about that because, just what he does. Doesn't even put his glove on until he starts. So Brooks Koepka will tell you all about that. Willett's good to grind, right? Yeah, I love Willett. I think, only people I've really seen talking about Willett are sharper minds or guys that I've seen win 6 figures in DFS golf. So I really like that play. I think it's going to go overlooked. I think, again, people are thinking birdie fest, who can get me there? Maybe guys like him and Furyk can't score enough. First off, I'll use the Furyk example. I beat it to death, but at the Players, everyone said that about him. The Players couldn't be any more correlation to this. It's the second most in water balls to this. It's the strongest field, or one of them in golf. It's the highest paying field in golf. This, I believe, is the second highest non-paying major to the Players. This has more water balls just than the Players. It's a TPC Sawgrass versus Southwind. Who won there? Rory. We think Rory could win here. Who said that, Furyk can't do nothing there because he can't score enough and got to 14 under and almost won the new trophy that looks like him with the gold bald head. So the bald eagle almost took it down there. So why can't he do it here at $7,000? to me, that's a no-brainer. I'll play him all day. And if Jim Furyk burns me, then better go back to figuring things out because I haven't seen it before. Could happen though. Playing any Brooks, yes. Talked about it earlier. Too much on the line for Brooks. He's got his little bit of cocky swagger attitude going in this week. Everyone always confuses that I hate Brooks. It has nothing to do with that. It's normally to do with price, entirety of the field, which bring up again, just a lot of people have asked this in Slack and we went back and forth on it. At something like the PGA, maybe you can do it. It's the opposite of the two. I can't remember between the PGA and the US Open because they switched spots this year, but one of them is full of a bunch of, amateur qualifiers. So it's tougher to go down and find a guy versus the PGA in a softer field. It was possible. But again, it always comes back to your own strategy too and what you've been doing with them and your risk versus reward. No one can really truly tell you that this guy is a must play or anything like that, or else we'd all be rich. I wouldn't have to be sitting here. I would have finished first instead of 16th in the Millie on Sunday, and I'd still be sitting here. Trust me. Love Gup's Corner. Love all you guys, but I'd be sitting here a lot richer. Let's just say that. So if I knew the answer, I promise I would tell you. I'm literally listing exposures to you guys right now. But for me, got to have some Brooks this week. I think it's, again, no cut event, 5 for 5 here, a second and a third, everything on the line. The fact that he knows that he can get to the finals of the FedEx Cup and be with a 2-stroke lead in a 30-man field, I mean, good night. That's almost $10 million in his bank. I don't care who's on his ass. He plays too well in that stuff. And in a smaller field, the smaller the field gets, you have to suspect it's a good spot for him. Who else? Let's see. Peps might be in the go low hangover mode. Yeah, that could be possible. He actually plays well in that. I can't remember which tournament it was when he went out and got blitzed and said he was hungover and shot like 5 under the next day. So don't hate that one. I do like Casey. Gup says he's in on Casey. I actually have moved more shares to Casey than Webb Simpson. So Webb is sort of that 20 guy that I talked about that I'm going to be underweight. And then more on Casey. I still like Webb. I kind of like them together. So at least if I'm playing them, I might put them together and then really be different elsewhere. And then switch it up in some of the others. But just doing that is something. Yeah, 15 mil this year. Maybe I missed that. See you, Tiger. That's a good call. I forgot about all the changes, and I just remembered the staggered scoring. But 15 million exactly. So you think Brooks doesn't want that kind of money? That's big money to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. 15 million is a huge increase to a net worth of any of these guys on tour, regardless of their sponsorship and wins this season so far. That's huge. So that's like saying if I won the Millie Maker, would I not want to win it again and double up my year? Of course I would. So Casey's fine. Yeah, we talked about him. What else do we got here, guys? Or what else do you want to know? Trying to think of what else we can talk about here strategy-wise. I don't know if it's just my chat's not loading. I'm still seeing like 110 people in here, but the questions have slowed down. I'll go back to some of my exposures, see if I can think of anything else to talk about. Putnam, I guess. Putnam was one I brought up. I got to see here what Gup has him at now. I didn't actually go and check all of them one by one. I want to save it just in case I was on by myself here. I probably got, so if he's 10%, I've got Putnam in about 15%. So Putnam to me is going to be sort of narrative-based, sort of really playing well-based. So he's actually been playing much better. The narrative-based thing was, he won the Barracuda last year, which was in June, but the Barracuda's going on this week, so maybe he feels good about that. And then he got second in the St. Jude last year, which, well, full field event, not the same as this. Second to DJ, and that was -13, and the next closest to him was -9. So certainly played well at this course. So a little bit of course history. Most recently, he's had some strong finishes: 3rd at the Schwab, 17th at the Memorial, 4th at the Scottish, and then just got a 32nd in the Open. So I think Putnam is definitely a good play to have in your lineups, especially in like a 1 to 3 max where you've got some chalk and you want to mix it up. I think Putnam would fit just fine. Normal 3 max strategy, change up, tighter pool. I'm not the expert there. Gup is, but I mean, those guys play tight pools. Gup and Bucks are 1 to 5 max. They're solid in everything they do, but I would certainly put Gup up against anybody in the entire industry in 1 to 5 max and back him if you'd let me, because he's going to come out ahead more times than not. And his strategy is typically a tighter pool. He does showcase it to you guys every week. He'll put it in the chat. You'll see his exposure with stars beside and bolded on guys that he's played in that portion of his lineup in the 1 to 3 max type builds. No JT fade, someone asked. Not completely fade. He's going to be popular. It looks like he's going to be over 20. I've got about 10%. I do have a FOMO bet on him. I just starting to wonder if that price is a little bit too much. He went from 9,100 up to 10,700. He's been doing things lately, but he hasn't really been doing big things. It's not like we've seen him finish first or second or third or big finishes. It's been a lot of maybes and almost and closes. So I'm not sure if that price bump was warranted, especially with all the guys that are around him. Like, $400 more, you get Rory. $700 more, you get DJ. $900 more, you get Koepka. Like, I don't know. I like Matt Wallace. Another one that suits sort of both. Yeah, I really like Wallace, actually. Bring him up for a second. So what do I got for Matt Wallace this week? I actually took quite a bit of him, I think, in comparison. So what do we have Wallace at here? He's got him at about 5%. I got 15% Wallace. Thoughts on Wallace are really around sort of the mixture of the two things we've talked about, right? You take away the birdie fest and you take away the grinding and you sort of, take them aside and then mix them together in one, like what we've got here. And he fits both. The guy is solid in, he's been good in, the 3 majors, in stronger fields, the British Masters, the Scottish Irish Opens. Pretty solid. He can score. He can get hot. The price is right. I certainly don't mind him, as you see by my exposure. I think he's another upside play right there with Putnam that you can use and be able to get some leverage on the field, so to speak, there if you mix it around the right way and not have to worry about the chalk otherwise, because it's just not going to be that high owned. Holmes, no JB Holmes. I wrote about it in the playbook. I'm not sure if the playbook's actually going to be posted, guys. I just thought about that, and you guys asked about it. I might post my plays. I'll just copy and paste them again and post them in the chat or something afterwards. But I wrote about him as my fade just because, not just because of the 87, but just because of, he sort of has to get hot, as we saw he kind of did, but it's not enough for me to go back to him. Like, I know no one will be on him, but probably for good reason. And he's going to be so low owned that I don't even know what's going to make a difference. Because let's say he's what? What does Gup have him at? 3%? You better get every other piece around him correct, or he's not going to matter unless he somehow gets hot enough for 4 days and blitzes the field. So good question, JB. I'll get that one in a second. I'm just trying to go in order here. Top projected owned guys. It's going to be, looks like JT, Hideki, Webb, Ches, Bryson, Ches, just like on the Mayo show, back it up again here. Bryson, Ches, and then sort of DJ, and then down to Xander. It's a mixture of those guys, but those 4 at the top are by far going to be the most popular. What's the one Gup said earlier? I think he said you could see Kuchar and Stenson creep up a bit. They still won't be high enough, but just because people are mentioning it now. So just so you guys know about that. Single entry, make sure you get a little bit different. At least leave a little bit of money on the table, but don't just plug those 4 chalk plays. One thing's for certain, even though I did play a little bit of all of them, even if I'm underweight, I don't have more than 2 of them in the same lineup at one time, unless it's like I think I've got one lineup that's in like the GC Cup, where I could care less because I'm already last place. So I'm just trying to do something, but I don't mind in that small of a field, right? I think it's 130 of us show up weekly, and I'm trying to outthink the thinkers. Most people will do that. It's kind of the same way in some of these smaller field tournaments now that everyone's leaving money on the table. You see the number of 50K lineups actually going down now, so you can almost invert that and use it again as long as you have the right guys and the right mix of aggregate ownership in there and still get away with it. Any stands in the Rose, Xander, Stenson, Kuchar? Stenson, Kuchar, certainly strong on those 2. Maybe Rose. What's Rose at? No, Rose is about the same. So yeah, Stenson, Kuchar, I'm definitely overweight to what Gup's ownership projections have. I like both those guys. Can even start a lineup with Stenson if you want to be different and just hope that one of the guys, either him or below him, gets hot and takes it down, and then have a bunch of really solid guys in your lineup. Keith Mitchell, I like, with Gup having him at 11%, I actually thought he was going to be a lot higher owned. I'm not that they're ever going to get that high, but he was sort of one of the values that I thought could get up to like 18 to 20. If he's at 11, that means, as Gup always says, 9 out of 10 lineups that won't have him. Excuse me. 9 out of 10 lineups without him. Bermuda, Keith, already got a bet on him at 175 to 1 with the each way. Fine with him. JB, the good question you had earlier. Yeah, what are you doing with RCB? Playing him for sure. The question is how much, and it's not much. I think it's 10%. What does Gup have, Matt? 10%. I mean, it's field. I'm not going to go way overweight on the guy, but I'm certainly going to go back to him, and we'll see what people actually do, right, when they have to click the button. Because sometimes people try to outthink the thinker and say, okay, I'm going to do that since nobody else will, and it gets even more popular. Like last week with Webb looking like the most high projected owned guy, and then it ends up being RCB because everyone was pivoting. Well, it didn't work out, right? Hurt everybody, including myself. 3 guys under 8K too aggressive? Not at all. I think that's an extremely good way to differentiate yourself. This is another week where, I'll bring up some more strategy, but another week where the 8K range is the highest owned range, right? You see almost everyone in there is over 10%, except for Hatton, Spieth, and Louis, who are what they are. And even Hatton could get up there. He's at 7 as of now in Gup's projections. And if people come a little bit down on, their Woodland, because they're worried about the babies, it would probably be Hatton that slings in there. So that is what I talked about. So when people say they've got these sleeper plays, like it's not really getting cute when you got 2 7K guys and then jam all the 8K guys, or just a lineup full of the 8K guys. You could do that, and I have some like that. I know for a fact, just because I have so many to play with. But if you just have one lineup, that's what I would say is it's called a bust rate, and the bust percentage of that area. There's just so many guys in there that are heavily owned that it's unlikely that all of them get there. Therefore, when you build your lineup to fit a bunch of those guys, you're probably still going to go in a normal week. I'm talking about here, like a 5 for 6 or a 4 for 6, and then wonder what happened. That's what happened. You put too much of the chalk range. You should be trying to exploit the ranges where less people are owned, like the 9K range, or 3 9K guys would be a great way to do it. Very popular from some of the sharper guys last week in like the 3K, and I believe ended up being there in the 3K on the winning lineup. Obviously, the Millie Brooks got there again, but wasn't even near sniffing an optimal lineup with guys like Tommy and Rose and all those guys going off. What else? Did Kenny have cornerstones? No cornerstones this week. No cut event. He takes his volume way down, as most do in cash. Just not as much of an advantage. Where like last week you could have a 4 for 6 and still cash. This week you're not even going to know what's happening until the end of the weekend, with it being basically a 6 for 6 unless somebody withdraws. Scott or Finau, really, this is the type of question, Trevor, right? In a 3 max, Gup can just pick a guy if he wants, but for me, it all comes down to what the rest of your lineup looks like. If you've already got Webb, Casey, and Cantlay in there, then you got to go, with the lower owned guy. You don't want to have all the chalk, right? You got to differentiate somewhere. Roughhausen, can you rank what guys? Catching a little bit of a cold here too, guys, so apologize if I'm sitting here sniffling the whole time, but can you rank those guys? He says. Not sure who we're talking about. Roughhausen just posted again. Rose versus X. Geez, that's really close for me. I actually want to look at my exposures just to see, so I can at least tell you DFS, and then I'll talk through some others. I've got more Rose than X currently, and the thinking on it is, again, X is going to be a little bit more popular. So I'll lean Rose. I think, again, underpriced, 9,500. He was 9,900 last week and did pretty good. So I'm not sure why he's going down. But again, just part of exploiting that range is why you'll see me have higher ownerships on those guys. It's not really like over the top or anything, but I do like them. Who else? Price aside, Fleetwood or Rory, not even close for me. It's Rory. I think Fleetwood takes that way harder than Rory. There also was a little bit of a study, quote unquote study, done by Jason Sobel at the start of the year for Action Network, where he talked about how the world thinks that guys that win have a harder time out the next week, but it's actually been proven on like a 1.5-year sample size. Very small, I know, not really worthy, but just to tell you that guys that come in second actually do a lot worse in the following tournament than guys that win, especially in a major, especially in that weather and that travel and everything versus Rory. Rory had a 65 on Friday. He did his best. I think he bounces back much easier. And at 10-2, I didn't even want to play Fleetwood, and I was wrong at 9.7K, but I definitely am going for more money on that guy. If it burns me, it burns me. What else do we got here? Brandon, okay, talking to Gup about Thunder Bear. He says, grind and score as good as anyone. Think he can get a T20. Yeah, Thunder Bear's a guy. Damn, I should have more, to be honest. And the reason I say that, it's just funny, is because he really reminds me of almost like a Matt Wallace type, right? Kind of Gup just explained in the chat exactly what I was talking about with Wallace, where it's a guy that can grind and score. You don't expect him to make a lot of mistakes. He's been in stronger fields and showed up before. He doesn't have too much care for, this stuff doesn't get under his skin or make him feel awkward or like he doesn't belong. So I definitely don't hate that play. I don't think I'll be able to get to him as much just because there's other guys around there. But what's his he's gonna have like little to no ownership, it looks like. So definitely a good play. It's 5-6%. I'm gonna reevaluate. I'm probably gonna get more of him in my lineup. I do like that. So he's someone I would like. What else? Day, like Jason Day. I definitely got more Day than Finau. If anyone's Jeff asked that question. Gup answered it the same way. I've got more Day than Finau, and I've actually got I think I've got 18% of Day, and he's at 13. So that tells you that. Let's see. Aggregate ownership, I like to stay under. I don't really have a set number, but more so looking at, I've talked about a lot of times on the FGD pod, more so looking at like if you've got two guys over 20% or two guys 18 and above, let's just say, then I definitely want to have two under 10% maybe, right, as a way to balance that out and be able to do it versus most people won't do that. They'll just take the most popular play at every spot and just keep building and clicking the popular name that everybody's been talking about in the industry, which is groupthink, and no one even knows if that's right half the time. How often, Olesen is Thunder Bear. How often does Kuchar outscore Decky? I would say more. That's actually pretty tough. I would still say there's more win equity because they're almost the same price, but it almost feels like in this tournament, and I normally don't say this, but like that's why I said I couldn't be off Decky, and then Gup comes in with the prediction for him, which I love, is that it feels like they're both pretty good. You can put them both in a lineup, but I do like Hideki more. I've got more Decky than I've got Kuchar. And I think, again, just grinding and scoring ability, both. But Kuchar's so solid, and 9K isn't really that unfair for him. A guy that's got a couple wins. Somebody, I think it was Dave Tyndall or Steve Rawlings I talked about this week, who had an article that Mayakoba had a lot of the same guys that crushed at Mayakoba did well here in the past, because there is a lot of history at the St. Jude Invitational with the full field event before, and they've done well at both venues, and Kuchar's won as well. So do like Kuchar there. Miss the number. I don't want to bet him at like 34 to 1 or something, so I'm not on that. Yeah, a lot of people asked about Leishman today. I do like Leishman. Leishman's like he's almost like a smaller version of Hideki for me, where I won't play Hideki at 11, but I like him under 9. I don't like playing Leishman over 9, and I do like playing him when he's below 8, or especially around like 7,600 like he is. Gup has him at 7. I've got 15% Leishman. So I do like that. So what else do we got here? So he bounces back. Love the comment on the second place finish. Yeah, it's tough to bounce back from that. It's tough to pay 10.2 for Tommy Fleetwood. The putter disappeared from him on Sunday again. Did not like that. Will it over Imahara? Yeah, I would say that. I'm definitely not saying it's a terrible pick. I just think Imahara hasn't shown me anything yet to be able to compete 7 majors, 0 made cuts, non-cut event or not. Again, the reason he didn't make the cut, think about some of the events, you're capable of making the cut at a pretty big number at some of these events, and he can't even make a cut there. With it being a no cut is one thing, with him not being able to be near the top at 6,200 when there's guys like Mitchell, Homa, Long, all these guys we mentioned around him, I can't go there. So that's just me. Less Billy Ho, especially with him being popular. I said at the start of the week, I like him, but if he's going to be popular, not as much. What else? Yeah, so Gup, we'll see you later in the Slack. Appreciate it, brother. That's awesome. Time's flying by. Hey, I guess it's been a steady 100 people watching. Get more likes in there, guys. 60 likes. If you haven't clicked the button yet, click the like button. More questions. Yeah, I still got time here. I love talking about this stuff. So Billy Ho pivot. Wolf. Yeah, Wolf is showing up at 10%. Score, grind, whatever. He's a boss. To talk about that eagle, to win the tournament, 2 bosses. I guess, someone joked earlier. I forget who it was. I want to say Price in Slack. He said, it was a joke, I guess. He commented earlier, I should say. I think he won a bunch of money here last year at this tournament. He's like, it's crazy you could fit think it was Cantlay, Koepka, and Bryson in the same lineup. That's insane. So you got to look at that for something like this year. And who are those guys? And to me, who are they? So it's Wolf would be one of them. Keith Mitchell, maybe. But if you got Keith Mitchell and Wolf in a lineup, it could feel scary. But I mean, those are pretty good values and guys that can outscore their price tags. And then you can fit pretty much whatever you want. So I don't know. It's something that I would look at and see, just to have a look and try and compare. But if those are this year's studs, you're gonna have to make some choices somewhere. Will those guys really be those prices next year? Like, could you see Wolf being 7,500 here next year? Probably not. So I think Wolf is a pretty good play. Love that pivot. What do we got here? How many in a player pool in 20 max? Risk versus reward, Cameron. I talk about this all the time. I might have 55 guys in my pool this week, but maybe, and that's 101 lineups, but I might only have 30 of them that are actually over 10% owned. So the rest are just all popping in as flyers to try and get that one lineup that differentiates. I will say this, big thing in today's game, as much as I complain about it on Twitter, and I am against these top-heavy payout structures, the bottom line is these are very top-heavy payout structures, especially something like that $10 tournament. And what it comes down to with that is it's almost more like a qualifier where you're playing for an FGWC ticket or something, which I boycotted this year. But next year, with this fantastic news from the PGA Tour, it looks like we'll get a live event, which is going to be incredible. And then I'll play again. But it's what I mean by that with these tournaments is that it's boom or bust. I'm really not building as many, I'm not really building the super strong core for my 101 lineups. Obviously, I'll have higher owned plays that become my core because of that, but I am trying to build different and unique builds to be able to get to the top. Look at the Million Maker, 14th at the Masters, 16th at the Open. It's not a coincidence. It's because I'm building lineups that are looking for upside and looking for the top, and I'm not going to have, everyone says you got to have 100 of them that way so that if one pulls through. I could have done that, but you're never going to guess what that exact one is. If you're going to do that, just play 1 to 3 max, rotate 2 plays in each like most people do, and that's where you do that, in my opinion. I'm only going off what I know and what I've had success with. My success is that it's a top-heavy payout, so I'm going after the top with one lineup. I could care, I'd love to win first, second, third, fourth, and fifth if that's the dream, but it doesn't always happen that way. I got first and third. I was lucky enough to get that in the dogleg last year, first and third in the same tournament, but that was with 50 or it was like 44 lineups or something, and it was a 2v2. I loved the lineup, and then I flipped 2 guys, but that was the only 2 lineups I did that scenario with using that core, and then I moved on to the next one. When you've only got 20 lineups or less, you sort of want to stick to something. I talked about this the other day on Smash Factor. Go with what you want to. If it's Gub's rankings, do it. If it's all of the Smash Squad plays mixed together, do it. If it's not even our content, anybody's, I don't care who you use, hopefully ours because you paid for it. But I'm just saying in general, if you're going to don't make 2 Tambo lineups, 2 Gut lineups, 2 Bucks lineups on 20 or less. Again, maybe even on 10 or less. If you're getting over that, then sure, I get what you're, look for the top like I just talked about, but I'm talking playing 100 lineups here. In this scenario, the dogleg last year was like 44 or 50. That's sort of the one I was going after. So little bit of a tangent, but I think it's good strategy. I didn't answer the Thunder Bear or Wallace. I said, 1, they're way 2 different price tags. 2, I like them both. I need to get more Thunder Bear after we get off this E9 because it just made me think about it. I love Wallace. Why not Thunder Bear? I said Thunder Bear is kind of like a mini Wallace, another Euro guy that's seen the big scene, been on the big scene, I should say. Not scared of these guys, can grind and can score, plays strong. It's a smaller field, should have more upside because of that, and no cut. Seems like a win-win to me. I've got to reevaluate some of my lineups here afterwards. Yeah, Tiger, I don't really get the Mayakoba and Southwind corollary piece. I guess there was literally 5 guys in the article that all had either a win or a top 3 on both of these courses. Could mean nothing. I mean, that's clearly not a big enough sample size. I'm just saying it might just be something that's, very coincidental, but sometimes those coincidences line up, right? At the end of the day, we're talking about Kuchar when I brought that up. I don't think we need that narrative to get on Kuchar this week. I think he's a pretty good play either way at 9K, having a hell of a season. Why not win a WGC? Also, people might forget and really underestimate this, but Kuchar is 37 FedEx Cup points behind Brooks. He certainly would like $10 million or $15 million, as was alluded to earlier by you as well. So like that. Willett, like him, grinder, and a scorer. Been playing much better lately. 7,400 to 7,100. Who do I like? Just going to use the ownership projections to go through. Snedeker for sure. Oh, Lefty. Didn't bring up Lefty. I'm absolutely playing some. Well, I did, I think, actually. I said this. He's nothing worse than a 12 in his last 5 times out. Nobody's going to be on him. Put him in 5 to 10% of your lineups if you have enough, because I think, again, there's nothing that makes more sense. I can go play shitty golf myself, as I'm no PGA pro like Mickelson, obviously, but I can go play 3 shitty rounds of golf and play a less shitty round at a course that I'm comfortable on and know a little bit more about. So if that's me that can do it, I'm certain that Mickelson can. Who else in that range? You're right. I mean, I did fit in a little bit of Norin. I did fit in a little bit of Bubba and then Wolf. But you're right. 7,400 down to 7K probably goes under owned. And if you get the smash play in there, then good job. I mean, that's nice. Keegan's popularity scare you? No. I mean, I'm not ever going to be heavy Keegan, but at 6,900, he's a fair price. So I do have some. I actually think after I saw Gup's ownership, I was surprised by it was even going to be that high, but it makes sense because, like I said, people are using him. I typed Gup in my exposure lookup here, so he's not going to be in my lineups this week. that was a mishap there. Yeah, I got 12% Keegan, so I thought that'd be enough if he was going to be around 10%. Tompkins, my boy, let's crush the $44 again this week. What do you got? 6 Rory, 4 Brooks. Go get what do you got to do with those lineups? Go 4-4-2. You better get 2 DJs in there. I know Gup didn't get to chime in on them. Maybe he didn't. I just missed it in the chat. But it really feels like everyone thinks across these sites that DJ is going to be higher owned than he is. And I actually don't. I think that one's going to come down to who's clicking the button. And I think people of this Brooks narrative have popped up more. Put it this way. If Brooks even got into my lineups this week, then he probably got into some of the public. So I think less people are actually going to click that DJ button. And I've got 12% DJ. Again, I'm going not way, but I'm underweight on all these guys at the top. It's just because I'm building more balanced. But I think most people are going to go stars and scrubs because they're thinking back to my original point today of the, birdie fest, no cut means everyone's going to do good. And they forget that, there could be like 20 guys that fall off a cliff on day one. And just go in the water. But it's stars and scrubs. They'll come back, right? So we'll see how that works out for everybody. Henrik Stenson, a good play over Scott. Love it. Don't necessarily say he's a better play. Like I said, I'm still playing Scott regardless. I love Stenson. But I think if you were in a 1 to 3 max and you looked pretty chalky and you could somehow get Scott up to Stenson, I definitely would love that as a play. How are they really that much different? They're not. They just have a slightly different price. What's Mayo say? Poom, 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 shake the room? No, not on him. Another guy coming over that could care less if he does it. I mean, I'll just probably have to quit DFS because I'll be broke, but I don't have any of him, that's for sure. Love Theoric, Matt. We talked about it a little bit earlier, man. I know it's a video version. You got to go back and watch it, so it's not as easy, but Gup talked about him in the chat. If you scroll up, like some grinder and a scorer, use the players as a comparative course to say sort of very similar, a lot of similarities, and he was able to put up minus 14 there and grind his way to that and almost take it from Rory McIlroy. McIlroy came back and took it from him, but still, it would have worked out that way in the end. Doesn't have to at 7K. Correct. Absolutely, Tyler. You got it there. That's good answer from Matt there, too. Thoughts on Kiz? Yeah. If I can find it on Kiz, I had a note on him to start the week that, what was it? Kiz, solid on Bermuda greens, finds the fairways, good touch around the greens, and good experience. Played well at Quail Hollow before as well when it hosted the PGA. I think he came 6th there. To me, that was another thing that I thought, that lines up. It's not recent, but it's now. So that we're talking about. So I think him at his price, same sort of thing. What else do we got here? Just seeing. You got more time, JB? JB, you got me? Yeah, you're good for a little longer. Okay, guys, if you got more questions, let's put them out there. JB's gonna stick around for a bit, and I could obviously talk about this shit all day. So I'll hang out for a little while longer just because getting some good stuff out there, and I'm sort of using this as a good way to look at building some of my own lineups when I get off there. I always save a few. So the exposures are pretty much where they are. I'm not going to change it too much, but I've been giving you exact numbers. Bieber complete game shutout. Baseball, baby. Woo! Get in those lineups. Our boy, man. D-Rock just killing it over in the Slack. If you guys aren't in baseball Slack yet and you want to get blown up daily with Slack messages, you can turn off notifications, I guess. That's just me. But lots of good information there. I'm just tired of losing money on MLB. So a little bit of bitterness there. Love D-Rock. Love what he's doing. Amazing add to the team contributor-wise. And, yeah, that's huge for Bieber. Complete game shutout. What else, guys? Let's go 3 more questions if we got them, and then we'll wrap it up. And I may be in Slack after. I might not. I'm traveling tomorrow with the family, so I may or may not be in Slack afterwards. But hopefully, did all right for my first ever solo anything, let alone E9. So can't imagine doing a pod by myself. It's insane, but. Aggregate ownership, Trevor just talked about it. Mainly just, fit some, in this week especially, either leave some money or fit some really low-owned guys in there, like a couple of them, to mix it up that way, or pick guys that are all like under 15%. You want to get, this is a week where you could go like 6, 10 to 15% guys, leave $100 and probably still end up coming unique just because people won't be able to do that or know what that looks like. Let's see. We'll talk about that. Thunder Bear has the course history. I see. I'm seeing Thunder Bear here as playing it one time back in like 2014 and missing the cut, but correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. That's just what I saw. Brooks, sneaky loan and single entry. I think that's a good play. Connor's Love, yeah, another guy down there at 6,300. Doesn't look like he's as popular as we would think. 10% or less type thing. Let's go. Alex Noren talked about it a little bit earlier. Definitely a good single to 3 max entry play if you've got the rest a little bit chalkier. Yeah, 20 max, you could split it up. I think there's definite, pick a couple guys in 20 lineups. Maybe, I don't know. I don't mind playing them all. I like, Rory Brooks and DJ. How are you going to really tell me who's going to win that this week? Again, with 20 and above is where I think you can get into bringing those guys in. I was telling Tompkins earlier, he could play maybe 2 DJs just to not lose out. But even with 10, he's probably better off doing what he's doing is taking his stands on those 2 guys. Olesen was T3 and T10 the last 2 years. I'm going to look this up live because right now I've got the I don't believe you gif coming to mind. But let's see here. So, St. Jude. Oh, I know what's happening here. Just one second. I bet you I know what's happening here. Okay, no, I don't know what's happening here. You're going to have to let me know. But he's never done well at the St. Jude again. Maybe you guys are mixing it up. But and I'm not trying to ignore everyone. I'm just going on a little tangent here. But I don't think that if you've got Thorborn Olsen as Thunder Bear and you look him up right now, he definitely did not play the St. Jude the last 2 years and definitely did not come T3 and T10. So I'm not sure where. Oh, you're saying on Fantasy National? Or are you on Thorborn Olsen? Because Olsen? Because that's who I'm looking at. Let me just go back one more time here. It's good to know if it's true. I don't, like I say, see third at the St. Jude they have for last year. No, see that's yeah. So they're pulling the WGC and they're calling it the WGC St. Jude. I believe it was the Bridgestone. This is not the same course, right? That was at Firestone. This is not the same course that he's playing. This is TPC Southwind. So they've just looks like, I bet you it's probably their data set where it changes, where when they, this tournament's changed now, so it goes back and corrects all the other ones automatically. Very good point. Glad you guys brought it up. That's why I don't mind spending the time to go look it up. They're not wrong. They're just, it's the wrong tournament. So is what it is. But that's something to know for sure. Does not have the course history here, but it proves to what we talked about earlier with him, and why I'm going to add him to some more of my lineups at that cheap price tag, is that, he can do well in strong fields and WGCs. He's the WGC stud, I'm going to call him. I'm going to take that title away from Lucas Bjerregaard and give it to Thorbjorn Olesen. Let me see Bjerregaard. JB was talking about this stud earlier. I didn't even look it up because I could care less about this guy, but WGC Mexico, HSBC 69th place, WGC Mexico 69th place. Yeah, no, I don't think he's a stud. I'm writing him off, JB. Sorry, I still love you, brother. But if he wins, I'll eat shit for that one. What else do we got here? Huge difference for sure. Yeah. Withdraw speculation here. Talked about Justin Harding's wrist. Ooh, good point. Don't have enough of him to care. I'll still speculate and play him. That fall was quite awkward. If it had been anyone but a dude like him that's kind of fit and in shape, I'm not sure how they would have made it out of that bunker, because quite the twirl that he had there. Yeah, Annalisa, that's what it is. They've just it's Fantasy Nationals data set has changed the name now because it's become this, and it's just auto correcting all the backdated ones. Just shows, like I said, he was great in WGC events though. Rose, I looked it up, is about 18%. Again, I'm exploiting that 9K range. Change your rules this year. You got to finish the tournament. That's news to me. So that's good to know. Should take away from some of that. Yeah, should take away from some of that withdrawal narrative here, because I don't think anyone's playing Louis or Na or Woodland or anything. But I think Woodland we talked about earlier, but just too much risk. Louis, I don't really care for his game anyway. And then other than that, I don't know, but a little different from Gut Bucks because core's so tight they don't give exposure. Yeah, for me, it's like you said, Ryan, it's 101 lineups. Like I said earlier, I don't know if you're on. I did 100, and then I thought, why not do 101 and just take these fools to school this week, right? DFS 101 feels better. I like it. Normally, I like even numbers and everything. I'm a little bit OCD, but with volume and controls and things like that. But I went with 101 here. Feel pretty solid about that. Yeah, Lazurko, that's a good point. If someone can go find that in an article and post it into the Slack, I mean, that would be fantastic, and we could use it for the community, and I'd like to know that for future as well. So I haven't seen that, though. Okay, 8:05, we'll go to 8:10. So a couple more if you got them, guys. I know the folks watching has dropped down a little bit now, so any more likes we can get, and then a couple more questions, and we'll get out of here. Trying to think if I've got anything else here at all to talk about with other guys. Who else do I have? Reeve, I didn't talk about a lot earlier. Just one thing on him as another guy that I think is a solid grinder and capable, puts it in the fairway, not going to go off, but don't mind him. No Poulter, so I didn't go with Poulter. Damn, he's probably going to burn. Maybe when I make some of these Olesen lineups, I'll put Poulter into it. But I don't know. I haven't really seen anything out of Poulter at all. Didn't look good again. Even at this event in the last 4 years, at the St. Jude Invitational or whatever you want to call it, or the St. Jude, the FedEx St. Jude Classic. He's got like a 31st and then didn't play a bunch. So, and now a stronger field. I can't imagine. No Woodland pre-baby swag. I actually pulled my Woodland shares. I just don't want to. Too many things going against it. Like I said, he's going to probably still have a little bit of speculative ownership. There's odds that he plays poorly, and then there's odds that he just has to go, and he's not going to take any chances here. I cannot see a scenario where his wife has the babies and says, you stay behind, or I'm going into labor, but you stay, regardless of his position on the board. So don't see that. Willett I like. Homa over Pan. DJ in multiple lineups. Like if you got 20 plus, I think you got to get a little bit of DJ in there. Homa, Mitchell, Lashley. You guys got me ranking stuff. That's not my forte, but let me try here. So when I can look at it, it's a lot better. Homa, Mitchell, Lashley, and Lee. So I've got them Homa, Mitchell, Lee, Lashley. Appreciate it, David. Reeve, Wallace, Willett. Is it a pick one or a rank? Reeve, Wallet, right in that order, actually. But if I'm picking one, probably just to avoid some of the chalk, I'm going with Wallace. I talked in depth about him earlier. Really like him. Three more minutes here, guys, and then I'm gonna take off. So no problem, man. Thank you. I think how many Spieth? I'll give you the exact exposure here. Get the drum roll going. Oh wait, that was easy. 0. Okay, so 0 Spieth solves that. Don't care about him. I used him at the major because he's actually been good at majors. He's been good at the Open. Links, he can boom it around a little bit and be able to get it. Like, it's not like there's huge water and trees and all this shit to get into. There's a little bit of hazy, grass out there, but nothing too serious. So it made a little bit more sense for me there. And like I said, if I messed up, I messed up, but at least my upside was winning $1 million. Player pool for 3 events. I think Gup and Bucks talk about it often, and it's normally like 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 15-ish or something. Not even one. Let me check. Like, I seriously was joking, but I honestly don't think I have him in one. I didn't go to actually type him in, but in 101 lineups. Oh, I actually have him in one lineup. He's 1%. I'm probably going to use that to get more Olsen exposure as soon as we get off here. So likely 0 by the end of this thing. But it's only, like I said, if I keep him in one, it's something that I saw or something completely random. And I don't care about burning a lineup if that happens. What if it's the lucky one? I really don't think it would be, and I think that's actually poor strategy on me, but I don't care. Then I only have 100 lineups instead of 101. So I don't think it's necessarily burning money. The lineup, let me look at it. I can't really think of why this lineup got put together or how it even possibly correlates, but it could be anything. Who knows when I'm building these lineups by hand and throughout the week. So I don't know. It'll probably be gone as soon as we get off here. Last question, guys. No mention of Bubba. Got him up there. Thanks, Lazurko. I'll go check into that article after. That's cool. Last thing we'll talk about then is Bubba. Here it is, and then we'll sign off. But maybe I'll answer these last 2. Bubba, I talked about. I said, I actually do have a little bit of Bubba just because guys like him and Mickelson are just priced pretty stupid for a non-cut event. Again, they could be the guys that just bust right away and go off and do nothing for you. That's why I only have like 5 or 7% of them just to mix them in with the core plays in case they're that under-owned guy that gets you there. And then, yes, I do think the $44 is going to be mostly stars and scrubs. I also think it's mostly going to be like a 10K or above guy with an 8K guy and then a 6K guy. So I'll give you the 3 guys that they'll start with is going to be a 10K and above, an 8K range player, if not 2, and a 6K range player, and go from there. All right. Thank you, guys. Awesome, time hanging out with you. I love doing this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I don't think, just looking at my schedule here now, what I got coming up and got to pack and do stuff, I don't think I'll be in the Slack. So you can hit me up with questions. If I can't get back to you, I apologize. I probably will at like midnight. Whether that helps you or not, I don't know. It doesn't really start till earlier in the morning, so it may help you. But with that said, guys, thank you for another good week. Let's crush it, and I want to see those green screens come on Sunday here. So, JB, I don't know what we got to do to sign off this thing, but I'm good to go, brother.
I'm